Just wanted to mention quickly, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat throughout the Mingle, so feel free to ask any questions. We will have an opportunity for you to ask any questions at the end, but if anything comes up throughout, just let us know.
And this meeting will be recorded, so we have turned off cameras and mics, and we'll share the recording with everyone later.
Yeah, so welcome. Thank you everyone for joining. If this is your first Mingle, thank you so much for jumping on. We hope you find it useful. And if you have any feedback, please let us know. If there's something that you found particularly useful, we'd love to hear it. If you've joined a Mingle before, thank you so much for coming back and joining us today.
So the agenda for today is it's all about assessments. We're going to look at understanding questions, learning how to break down questions to really grasp what the assessor is asking, the verb secrets, figuring out the different verbs, for example, list, explain, discuss, etc., and how to tackle each kind of question. And lastly, research hacks, finding tips on researching when the answer isn't in the learning materials before reaching out to your mentor.
So first up, we have understanding questions. So as a mentor, I know that this does come up a lot with my students, and I'm sure it's the same with other mentors as well. You know, you might have a question that you just think, oh my goodness, what is the assessor asking for? You have no idea. So we have a few tips that we've put together to hopefully help you break down the question, understand what the assessor is looking for, and then how to go ahead with answering the question. So firstly, always read the question carefully. So take note of any key terms, instructions, and any specific requirements mentioned in the question. Next, identify the task. So determine what the question is asking you to do. Common tasks in assessment questions include listing, discussing, and identifying. We do have a few verbs that we will be discussing a little bit later. So if you're a bit unsure, we will definitely go into that next. But definitely, firstly, identify the task. It will help you formulate your response. Next is to break down the question so into its components or elements. If it's an assessment that's asking for a few different things, so break it down into those different parts and try and tackle each one at a time. Next, plan your response. So once you understood the question, you can plan your response, outline the main points and the structure. So outline those, if it's asking for a few different things, outline those different things, and then you can bring it all together. And then check for understanding. So before you begin writing your response, double check that you fully understood the question and you're clear on what is being asked. If you're still a little bit unsure after following those first 4 steps, if you're still unsure about what to do, feel free to reach out to your mentor. They will be more than happy to help you break down the question if that's what you're having trouble with, or just to confirm that, yes, you are on the right track. And yes, that is how you should be looking at that question. So we do have a quick example here. So this is a discuss question. So it's asking for 2 strengths, 2 limitations, an example, and then example of a form of social media, and then 2 examples of different types of social media that have a negative impact on business communications. So you've got the different parts that you're needing to answer for that question. So an easy way to set out your answer would be to just break it down into those 4 parts. So you've got your 2 examples, your 2 strengths, your limitations, and then your 3 examples at the end.
Okay, so moving on to the verb sequence, we'll go to the first verb, which is list. There's some examples there below of from some of the assessments. So to the list, it can be one word or a sentence. It doesn't need to be a whole paragraph. Often it has a specific number stated, so take note of that. You can see, and I think pretty much all those examples, there's a number stated. It doesn't require extensive explanation or analysis. So as I said, just one word is often enough, just depending on the question. If no specific order is mentioned, you can present the items in any sequence you find suitable. So unless it's, say, instructions or something like that, which would make sense to go, 1, 2, 3, 4 in a sequence, then you just point form and any order is fine. And lastly, ensure that you include all the items requested in the assessment. So definitely making sure if it says like list 3 things, then list 3 things or list 5 or however many it is. Just double check you've got all of that.
Next is another really popular assessment verb, which is identify. So with identify, you're being asked to recognize, name, or point out specific elements related to the question. This can be a more straightforward response, so you're not being asked to provide extensive explanations. You do need to make sure that it is precise and specific. Try and get straight to the point. And also providing enough detail, though, to indicate what you're identifying. Also should be relevant to the question, so focus on identifying elements that directly address the requirements of the assessment. So you can see we've got a few examples here again. With these as well, it will have a number of things that you're needing to identify. So, identify a minimum of 3 key elements that should be included, 4 components, so making sure that you've got that correct number. Giving a little bit of detail, it is more in depth than simply listing, but you're not having to provide extensive explanations.
The next verb is describe. So in this one, you need to provide a detailed account or explanation of the characteristics, features, or qualities of the specified topic. It may include breaking down the topic into its essential parts and providing details about each part. So again, it's more than just identifying, it's more like giving further information. Unlike assessment verbs such as analyse or evaluate, which requires deeper examination or assessment, describe typically focuses on providing an objective account. So it's not asking for your opinion or anything else, it's just describing characteristics. So there's some examples there, briefly describe the purpose. There's a few purpose ones there. Describe how to manual process. So that's some examples from the assessments in the courses.
Next is explain. This is another really popular one. So you're being asked to clarify or provide a detailed account of a concept, process, or idea. So you're wanting to make the topic or concept clear and understandable to the reader. So, pretend that the reader has no idea about the concept or the idea, and you're wanting to break it down into simpler parts for them to be able to understand it. Offer, where you can, background information or context to help the reader understand the significance of the topic. And where applicable, include examples to clarify your explanation to make it more relatable. So we've got a few examples here as well. So explain, what must be considered when working out the criteria. So you'd be, wanting to explain, the concept first, and then giving some examples as well.
And lastly, we have discuss. So this is asking you to explore different aspects of the topic, presents various viewpoints and arguments. So your opinion, and that's more than the other ones have been. It may include your own analysis, research findings or perspectives. Support your discussion with evidence, examples or data that illustrate your points or argument. And a discussion should draw conclusions based on the analysis and exploration of the topic. So this is a lot more than the previous ones have been asking you to do. So some examples there, I discussed the concept of that particular principle, 3 ways to manage time at work. So there's a few other examples there regarding discuss. Next, we're going to move on to research hacks. So when you're doing research, the first thing you'll need to do is define your research topic. So clearly define the topic or question you're researching. Having a well-defined research question will help you to focus your search and find relevant information more efficiently. Choose reliable sources. So using reputable sources such as academic journals, government websites, reputable news organisations and scholarly databases. So just be wary of which ones you're using because, some are more credible than others. Be cautious of sources that lack credibility, such as personal blogs, forums, or Wikipedia. And check multiple sources. Cross-reference information from multiple sources to ensure accuracy and reliability. If multiple credible sources corroborate the same information, it's likely to be more trustworthy. So if you're finding that, or you've looked at 3 websites, you're finding that they're the same information, then it's more likely to be accurate. Take advantage of library research resources. Many libraries offer online access to digital collections, research guides, and databases. And avoid plagiarism. Make sure your answer is written in your own words. When using information from online sources, include the link of the website. So we don't ask for a lot of information there. It's just simply the website that you're using.
Okay, any questions? Feel free to put any questions that you may have in the chat.